So I've got an interesting question here about finance formula selection. Normally people just ask me to do problems, so it's interesting, a different question type. So the question that was asked was, how do you figure out when to use present value versus future value formula? So I assume the student's looking at the formula sheet thinking, hey, there's a whole bunch of formulas here. How do I remember which one is which? So first of all, we'll just differentiate between compound interest and annuities. Compound interest is a one-off investment. So it involves getting a whole heap of money, putting it in a wheelbarrow, taking it to the bank, and then leaving it there for a big period of time. All these annuities are where there are regular payments involved. Okay, something like a home loan where we borrow a heap of money and then pay it off with regular payments, or we're saving for our retirement and we're saving little bits of money every week, hoping that we have heaps when we retire in 50 years. I find the most helpful thing for visualizing this is just to draw some timelines. So compound interest is essentially a timeline where we invest a principal amount of money, it experiences an interest rate and ends up hopefully as a bigger amount in the future. So I recommend only using the formulas from the formula sheet and just being able to rearrange those. You need to decide from the question, is the amount there the principal that the person's investing, or is it the amount at the end that they're hoping to obtain? The annuity scenarios are a bit more interesting. This first annuity has a positive power, so you can think of it as the one where we're trying to grow our money. So over this period of time, we're going to make a bunch of payments, okay, M, into our savings account. So we're saving all the way, investing these little values M, and then at the end, we'll get a big value A because all of these little M's are experiencing that interest rate. So you'll use this formula generally for when people are doing savings, hopefully to get a big amount of money at the end, which they can use to buy something or possibly retire. The second formula is where you start out with a big amount of money and you enter into an agreement which involves converting that big amount of money into a bunch of smaller payments. Okay, so starting with, say, $500,000 and then converting that into monthly payments of, say, $1,000 for 30 years, undergoing again a certain interest rate. Okay, this one's interesting in that it can be used in two main scenarios. So the first scenario is a home loan. So what the bank does is it gives you a big amount of money at the start for your house and then expects these little monthly payments for 25 to 30 years. Okay, so it's the first common scenario that you'll see. A is the amount that's borrowed. M is the payments that you need to make to the bank. The other scenario is a pension plan. So you've worked your whole life, you have a big amount of money, you give that big amount of money to the bank and they will give you these regular payments over, say, 15 or 20 years, depending on what your arrangement is. So that the big amount of money is still earning all this interest and you're just taking your monthly payments away so you can live. There's a third formula that's not on the formula sheet currently, but it will be in the revised syllabus, which is the perpetuity formula, which is effectively the same as this formula, but it goes on forever. We start with a big amount of money and we convert it into regular payments forever. So it's called a perpetuity. Okay, and the most common questions are things like scholarship funds. So perhaps at your school there's a A scholarship that students win every year might be $200, and it's always the same amount every year. It'll pretty much go forever. Probably named after someone. That person gave a big amount of money to the school, maybe $5,000, which allows the school every year to make these regular payments to the scholarship winner. So the biggest tip is to always think in terms of these timelines. You might want to draw it in the exam, learn how to rearrange the formulas. Don't try to memorize all different present, future value formulas for all these different scenarios. Okay, good luck on your exam. If you're watching this video in 2026, then just replace all the M's with D's and you've got the new formula sheet.